Pleasant good afternoon and a hearty welcome to News Hour. In this edition, the remains of Muhammad Karim, commonly known as Daddy George, been laid to rest in his hometown Shibwema in the Kailaon district. Regional Chairman Peace Building Commission pays courtesy call on President Anas Barikoma at State House. Chancellor of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to Sierra Leone receives another batch of Chinese medical doctors to Sierra Leone. These stories and more, including business and sport news, are lined up in this edition of News Hour. With me, Mariama Thompson. Stay. First in the news this afternoon, the Regional Chairman, Peace Building Commission, Mariama Kamau, and Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Kenya to the United Nations, has commended President Anas Barikoma for the peace that is prevailing under his leadership and for the appointment of women ministers in his government. Mr. Kamau made the commendation when he paid a courtesy call on President Kuma at State House. Razia Bashkumara filed in this report.
That Sierra Leone continues to enjoy and which the government of this republic can claim great credit for under your leadership is something that we know is recognized. The Security Council in 2014, as you know, already made the decision to draw down the engagement of the Peace Building Commission here in Sierra Leone. But before that, had already drawn down the engagement of the peacekeeping mission and then the political mission. And it's been steady progress all the way. The second thing, sir, that has arisen and that has changed the character of our engagement is that out of these resolutions was also the issue of the primacy of politics. That somehow we must always keep the political debate, the political negotiation at the center of the resolution of all crises. That it cannot be that we leave the negotiation table and resort to any other kinds of non-political resolutions to crises that arise in our countries, because the world cannot simply bear this anymore. So the primacy of politics has become something that we consider to be very important, and that will be supported even by the Peace Building Commission. And thirdly, is the recognition that youth, young people, and women need special attention in the world. If we are to build peace, if we are to secure the peace, if we are to sustain the peace, youth and women are going to have to get an incredible amount of support, because young people, as you know, get caught up very much in the crises of our modern day politics. They get manipulated by criminal elements, by political elements, and by commercial elements, to the detriment of society. And it's usually because the youth are not gainfully employed. So this is something that we've come to recognize. And the last point is that we have come to realize that women, and again, we were just speaking a little earlier, that you in your own wisdom have recognized this, because in your recent reshuffle, you have increased the number of women in your cabinet, and we want to congratulate you and recognize you for this. But this should be the norm now in the world, not the exception. That the leadership you're showing in this vein should be something that should be the norm. And we and the international community is saying that women need to be given the protection they deserve, not just because they are the victims of many of these crises, political and otherwise, but because they have been left out of governance.
You know, your country, Sierra Leone, is also often held, as Ambassador Kamau said, as a success story for UN peace building. But we know that the real credit for the progress that your country has made is due to your leadership, the leadership of your government, and of course to the Sierra Leonean themselves.
Let me also thank you for the support that we have received from the BBC We have since continued, and believe that on to 2014, we believe that we are focused on doing the right things. Our economy was growing, and we have seen growth in the efforts of developing our youths, empowering the women when Ebola struck. But again, with your collaboration and support and the resilience of our people, we are now out of it, and our focus is to continue with the journey that we have started, to get back to re-engaging with the agenda for prosperity. But of course, Ebola had its difficult challenges that it has posed. And for us, it was not only Ebola, we also had the drop in the prices of metals that affected our economy as well. So we had these twin difficulties of Ebola and the drop that's completely devastated the economy. And it's, even when we are through with Ebola now, we still have the problems, the challenges lingering on. And but notwithstanding those challenges, the problems that we have, again, with your support, you've been able to galvanize the international community. We have had a few meetings, the UN meeting being the highest point in which support was provided by the international community. And I'm happy that whilst we are realizing the support from it, we still welcome your decision to continue to canvass the translation of people's or the donors' commitments to real action, because that is what is required. Moving forward, we have had the immediate post-Ebola recovery program, the 6 to 9 months program that we have completed.
Meanwhile, the team from the UN Peace Building Commission, as part of its visit, also met with the Minister of State 2, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Honorable Aissata Kabir. Hawanatu Conte reports.
To assess the intervention strategy with the view of supporting the ongoing post-Ebola recovery plan and long-term peace-building priorities from a national and regional perspective. The team will also highlight national and regional recovery efforts, focusing on political and socio-economic priorities of Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia. The delegation will discuss and identify opportunities with relevant authorities for further constructive engagement of the Peace Building Commission and the international community. Chair of the Organizational Committee of the Peace Building Commission and Head of Delegation, Mariama Kamau, congratulated Sierra Leone for its development strides. He outlined plans of the Commission to sustain peace in Sierra Leone and the contribution to the post-Ebola recovery process.
We are in awe of the amazing response that this country undertook in responding to this horrific epidemic. It was an emergency that those of us who are involved in New York in the consultations at the beginning of this epidemic saw projections that were terrifying. When we were told that hundreds of thousands of Sierra Leoneans would be laid waste. I remember my brother and I remember my words, I said, "These two we shall overcome." Do you remember?
Minister of State 2, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Honorable Aissata Kabir, emphasized the need for continuous assistance.
As much as the world came together to defeat Ebola, the world must continue to work together to sustain that wave
Chair of the Sierra Leone Peace Building Country-Specific Configuration, Marc-André Blanchard, said Sierra Leone is a success story of the UN peace-building process. He said the country has potentials. The visit will bring to the fore peace-building opportunities and challenges in West Africa on the road to recovery after the Ebola outbreak. Awana Tukonte reporting for SLBC TV News.
The Chancellor of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to Sierra Leone has commended the outgoing Chinese medical team of the Sierra Leone-China Friendship Hospital for their humanitarian services to strengthen the health sector in Sierra Leone. He made the statement while welcoming the new batch of Chinese medical team at the Joy Hospital. Joseph Stanley reports.
According to Mr. Sheng, this year is the 46th anniversary of the diplomatic ties between the two countries, and that the 8 batches of Chinese medical team have so far been sent to Sierra Leone. The Chancellor expressed appreciation to them for their valuable contribution to the health sector, especially during the Ebola outbreak. He pledged the Chinese government commitment to support the government of Sierra Leone in the post-Ebola recovery plan, as it is in line with government's agenda for prosperity.
This year marks the 45th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic ties between China and Sierra Leone. China has sent 18 batches of doctors and nurses to Sierra Leone in the past years. It is the Hunan province of China who takes these responsibilities. The Chinese medical teams have brought not only the friendship, but also the professionalism to serve the saloons, and have made great contributions to the health sector of Sierra Leone. During the Ebola outbreak, the Chinese doctors and nurses stood fast and held their post firmly, regardless of the deadly virus. They stood as a resilient force in fighting against Ebola. And what they have done truly reflected the brotherhood of China and Sierra Leone, no matter how bad the situation is.
The Deputy Director of the Health Family Planning Commission of the Yunnan Province of China, Mr. Zhang, said the Chinese medical teams have played significant roles to develop the health sector in the country, and assured the gathering that the new Chinese medical team will live up to their expectations. The medical superintendent of the Sierra Leone-China Friendship Hospital, Dr. Alex Kanu, recalled the opening of the hospital in 2012, but due to the high use of fees, people refused to patronize the facilities at the hospital. He added that after the Ebola crisis, they commenced operation at minimal cost, and the situation has changed as facilities at the hospital are now fully utilized.
The medical services were okay, but one area that the people have been complaining is the users' fees that they considered very exorbitant. But when the Ebola struck, the Shandong people went back to China, and then the hospital returned back to the Sierra Leone people. So we welcome it, and then it's like part of a return of this hospital to this hospital is part of the Ebola outbreak. Now I'll talk about the outgoing Chinese medical team. They were working under incredibly difficult conditions. Just after the Ebola, so many things were not in place in the hospital. But in spite of all of these things, they were able to overcome the difficulties, and we had to treat people. First, we started with outpatient services, and then later we moved to admission services.
Dr. Kanu lauded the efforts of the outgoing medical team for their humanitarian services and welcomed the new batch, especially the additional doctors, and expressed hope that they will do their best to serve humanity. The donation of medical consumables to the hospital formed part of the ceremony. SLBC News, Joseph Stanley reporting.
A training for ministries, departments and agencies on financial and contractual procedures of the European Development Fund has started at the Country Lodge Hotel Hill Station. A leading Austrian public sector consultant is training the participants on public finance management, taxation, education, employment, and social services, among others. Minister of State, Ministry of Finance, Fode Bala Mansure, opened the training. Francis Barnard reports.
Declaring the workshop open, the Minister of State, Fode Bala Mansure, entreats participants to take the training very seriously, to acquire the needed skills and knowledge for the proper utilization of the European Union resources for the transformation of the country. The minister describes the EU as one of the most dependable partners with the greatest support to Sierra Leone, noting that the country's greatest weaknesses are the proper use of resources. According to him, the EU does not attach conditionalities like other partners, but it expects the country to use the resources to benefit its citizens.
I say EU is the most dependable and the most, or it is the organization that gives the greatest amount of resources to Sierra Leone. Under the present EDF and EDF11, which is for the period 2014 to 2020, we have been allocated 376 million euros. And depending on our capability to utilize these resources, the amount could be upped. If we are told we are able to utilize these ones before the expiry of the EDF cycle. So it is very important that you who are representing the focal sector ministries dedicate yourselves during the next 2 weeks to what the trainers are going to tell us.
Head of the European Union delegation, Ambassador Peter Vasta, says the EU is supporting Sierra Leone with a total sum of 376 million euros as grants for 6 years, spanning from 2014 to 2020 for the development of the country. The EU ambassador explains that 80 million euros is meant for budget support, 70 million euros for the agricultural and educational sectors, 140 million euros for the construction of roads, and 3 million euros as support to the National Authorizing Office. He says all the projects are owned and going to be implemented by the government. Hence, the essence for the training of MDAs cannot be overemphasized in ensuring the EU rules and procedures are followed to the letter in the use of its resources.
We now have to implement on all of these programs in a very short space of time and make sure that everything is delivered effectively and reaches the end target groups. And this is why it's important that everybody is trained and understands the procedures. What's key to this program is that it's not just a bipartite relation between the government of Sierra Leone and the EU. It's a tripart one in many of these programs where the line ministries play an equally important role. So all of the programs that are implemented are driven by the national counterpart. The government of Sierra Leone owns these programs, and we count on the ministries and the line ministries and the development agencies to understand and work towards the goal of the government of Sierra Leone.
The Director of National Authorizing Office, Ibrahim Surikanu, informs SRBC that the government wants to increase the net benefits from the funds allocated to the country by the EU. Thus, he explains what is expected of the participants at the end of the 2 weeks training.
The more knowledgeable and educated and experienced with the EDF procedure, the less will be the amount of ineligible expenditures that government will be asked to, government will be obliged to refund. Therefore, it would increase the net benefit to the country from these funds that are allocated to us.
All participants expressed the hope that the skills and knowledge they will gain from the training will aid them in the implementation of the EU-funded government projects in Sierra Leone.
Public Relations Officer, Sierra Leone Maritime Administration, Kadiatu Kamara, has called on coxswains to adhere to sea safety regulations to prevent accidents at sea. She made this call during the training of coxswains at Bonth. Darren Kaloko sent in this report.
These coxswains were trained on navigational skills, survival techniques, search and rescue at sea with the aim to prevent sea accidents. The Public Relations Officer, Sierra Leone Maritime Administration, Kadiatu Kamara, said that capacity building of local boat owners is key to address sea accidents and to protect the lives and properties at sea. She said that they have been conducting similar trainings for coxswains nationwide. Madam Kamara said that the trainings looked at the principles and values of maritime safety, the importance of having first aid kits at sea, and the use of life jacket, which are basic standards. She spoke about the institution's stance to ensure that passengers comply with rules and regulations governing sea.
Because we notice, say, then coxswain they are people we need for know exactly what the basic navigational skills them. They need to get knowledge over the outboard machine. They need to know the survival techniques them. They need to know the search and rescue operations in the event something happen at sea. So all them things they are not like we just need to explain. We need to can teach them and practicalize them as well. That is the reason why we can bond, and after the training, we give them certificates where they qualify them for going at sea and then captain them, boats them.
Safety Inspector Maritime Administration Alfred Keferson spoke about the importance of safety. Captain Musa Fofana commended the Sierra Leone Maritime Administration for such a laudable venture.
Bishop Emeritus of the Methodist Church Sierra Leone, the Right Reverend Arnold Temple, has called on the Ministry of Education to take the contributions of churches seriously in improving the education sector. Bishop Temple made the statements during a certification ceremony of the Children's Ministry of the Methodist Church Sierra Leone, held at the John Ezedier Hall in Freetown. Hawanatu Conte has more.
Describes the as very special for the children and the Methodist Church. According to the Bishop Emeritus, the Sunday School Ministry aimed at shaping the lives of the children to become good citizens.
The Open Government Initiative has organized an Open Government Partnership meeting to review the partnership's first National Action Plan. The forum, which took place at State House, is also in preparation of the implementation of the second National Action Plan. Nasiruddin Koma filed in this report.
OGP Steering Committee meeting comprised representatives from line ministries, departments and agencies, and the civil society. Addressing participants, the head of Civil Service and Secretary to Cabinet, Dr. Anesuru, had this to say.
And collective responsibility means leaders have to be open. MDs have to be open in the implementation of programs that are meant for the people. The people are out there, they are waiting for the services. And we have to ensure that they participate in the decision making as well as in the implementation, monitoring and evaluation. The President is our light in this respect. Development in openness and transparency and accountability. And he expects all of us as MDs or civil society to be open in our dealings with each other. And I am sure if we continue in this trend, this country will ever remain peaceful and will never think about another war. If we look at the history of our war, what has caused it? The reasons are many, but most of it comes from lack of openness by government. Civil society or the people out there do not know how government operates. They do not know what happened to their resources. They do not know what happened to their plans and their programs. They always see things happen. Whether they are happy or they're not happy is another matter. But now government is trying to be more open.
The Open Government Partnership is a multilateral initiative that aims at securing concrete commitments from governments to promote transparency, empower citizens, fight corruption, and harness new technologies to strengthen governance. In the spirit of multi-stakeholder collaboration, OGP is overseen by a steering committee including representatives of governments and civil society organizations. OGP was launched in 2011 to provide an international platform for domestic reforms committed to making their government more open, accountable, and responsive to citizens. Since then, OGP has grown from 8 countries to 69 participating countries. In all OGP countries, governments and civil societies are to work together to develop and implement ambitious open government reforms. Participants discussed the National Action Plan with emphasis on challenging milestones. Here is the director of OGI, Khadija Sise.
It's really, we are moving forward. We have 30 days to present the National Action Plan, a project that was supposed to be done about 6 months ago, because in other countries they start the project of writing an action plan for like at least 6 months. And now we are about to start the process. We started it actually with the sensitization that we just concluded about 2 weeks ago. So within 6 to 8 weeks, we are going to conclude the action plan. But again, I can say where there is the will, there is a way, and which is present here today. You've seen that. I mean, it was present today, this morning at the meeting when everybody was busy trying to bring together what is needed to move forward.
OGP participating countries co-create a national action plan with civil society. Action plans should cover a 2-year period and consist of a set of commitments that advance transparency, accountability, participation, or technological innovation. This means every country implements a national action plan at all times. Although individual commitments still vary in length, in order to achieve this, countries will draft their new action plans during the last 6 months of implementation of the previous plan. All national action plans should cover a period of implementation of a minimum of 18 months, although individual commitment may vary in length. The review prepares the OGP Steering Committee for the wrap-up of the first National Action Plan while it commences the implementation of the new one.
The remains of Mohammed Karim, commonly known as Daddy George, have been laid to rest in his hometown Shebrema in the Kailaon district. Mohammed Karim met his death during an intra-party fracas within supporters of the SLPP during a peace and reconciliation meeting in Kenema. The late Mohammed Karim was allegedly murdered by a supporter of the same party. Thousands of mourners attended a funeral service at the St. Peter's Catholic Church, Shebrema. Hawa Musire reports.
Before the remains of Mohammed Karim were taken to Shebrema town for burial, John Oponjo Benjamin and team, including the Alliance Against Violence of the SLPP, met with the Assistant Inspector General of Police East, Karo Kamara, to express appreciation for his swift response in putting the situation under control. Responding, AIG Karo Kamara told the team that 2 ladies have also been charged to court for insulting and later sentenced to 3 months imprisonment each. AIG Kamara noted that he will ensure that a level playing field for all, calling on aspirants to allow supporters to choose candidates of their choice.
I've addressed it yesterday, and with this kind of example that has been set up, I'm really pleased over it to see that 2 ladies were sent to jail for 3 months. I think that will teach it yesterday. And for the murder cases, it has been adjourned to Friday, the 17th, for which I humbly request that I want to start that case on this coming Friday, and I want you to withdraw on another cases because I don't want to lose any of my cases. My responsibility is to ensure that we provide security for all of you until you get back to freedom.
The remains of Mohammed Karim, known as Daddy George, were received by youths in Shebrema town and later taken to his residence. His mother, Madam Bindu Momo, told SABC that She was surprised over the death.
So after the whole thing, go to clean on, I go meet Funny. I say, Papa, what I don't do?
His wife, Kadiatu Kamara, described her husband as a pillar of the family. Mr. Karim was a strong businessman, a politician, the brain behind the formation of the PMDC in Shagwema, and later became a strong supporter of the opposition, SLPP.
God our Father, hear our prayers and be merciful to your Son, whom you have called from this life.
The Requiem Mass was held at the St. Peter's Catholic Church. Thousands of mourners attended the funeral mass to pay their last respect. Reverend Father Kemo said the division in the SLPP has led to the death of Daddy George. Reverend Kemo called on the supporters of SLPP to be united, as in the 60s he used to know the Sierra Leone People's Party as a peaceful and democratic party. The late man, according to Father Edward Kemo, contributed immensely towards the construction of the St. Peter's Catholic Church. Paying tribute to the late man, one of the SLPP flag-bearer aspirants, John Oponjo Benjamin, said the death of Daddy George is a great loss to the party, his family, and the entire Shagwema town. He called for justice to prevail and bring perpetrators to book.
Daddy's death is a very unfortunate incident. Should be condemned by all parties. It is indeed a disgrace to our party that things had to deteriorate to this level where while we were in the process of seeking peace and building reconciliation in our party, some group of supporters are still not prepared for peace. And they've gone on the rampage again as usual. And this time it led to the death, unfortunately, of Daddy George. I believe that this is a senseless act and it should be condemned. And this is not the type of thing that should happen in our party.
Other members of the party, including Honorable Bernadette Lahai, family members, Team JOB, and youths, also paid gloomy tributes to Mohammed Karim, known as Daddy George. The late Mohammed Karim Daddy George survived by his wife and children. He will be missed not only by his family, the entire Shagwema community, and the SLPP at large. SLPC TV News are in Freetown. How must we reporting?
And now for some business news. The price of iron ore fell below $50 in May this year after the increase recorded in April. Lucien Ganda has the details.
According to Bloomberg Index, one of the reasons for the Sierra Leone economy contracting in 2015 by 22% was as a result of iron ore companies shutting down and the continuous decline in the value of the leone and the fall in commodity prices in the world markets. Iron ore was a major source of getting the needed foreign exchange. Shandong Iron and Steel Group has resumed operations, but the price of the ore determines the production level. The price of iron ore fell to $40 a ton in January this year. Business News, Lucien Ganda, Freetown.
And as dollar hike hits food commodity prices, traders at Kutan Road Market have blamed wholesalers for the price hike. This disclosure was made to reporter Jorian Dumbuya as she visited the Kutan Road Market. Here is the report.
Kutan Road Market, the traders complain the dollar hike as the main factor responsible for the increase in prices.
This year, 150 for now. The vegetable, the tomatoes, will be about 150. Today, they say 250. Even carrots, will be about 200, 150. Today, they say 300. Everything there. Market's not there safe. When we chop and see at the dollar, and not true. You go don't buy dollar at 660 or 650. Where you go? Now, Guinea, how much are they watching your money? Sometimes 680.
Even traders who sell leaf vegetables are complaining that they have low sale of commodities.
Everything don't go. If we remember me na cassava leaf at the sale. Just because of the Ghana don't do, I don't go 2.5 for crop. And they sell $1. So the cassava leaf is sell the money, the rocks in my hand.
This, they say, has had a negative effect on their livelihood.
But now, 1,000 don't be banned. Okay, don't go put your 150,000, don't go that's the way you can check. I need a commodity.
Others attribute the price hike to the selfishness of the wholesalers, who are claiming that the increase in prices of goods largely depend on the dollar rates, while they have some goods that has been in their stores before the dollar hike.
Well, the business really stiff. The business stronger, the things that don't go up rapidly, especially the rice, the sugar, the abas, oil, everything go up rapidly. And then now wait, because now then they send at the dollar. Because now then they put, then they emphasize on any side where you go. What they buy today, tomorrow where you go na different price. Do ya with the beguna and with the beg the government. Let go inside and shop and there's something and then we don't get them from last year. They not even order for them. Then they put price for them. So all and then na the shop, the one that where they sell. Now the shop, then they make the country the tiganga more and more.
Meanwhile, the prices of other commodities like maggi, salt, onion and the like are stable.
And now for some sports and stories, we join Francis Bernard.
Hello, and for some sports on News Hour, Oscar Pistorius is a broken man and should not be sent to jail. A psychologist has said at the South African athlete's sentencing hearing. Defense witness Dr. Jonathan Scott said Pistorius was suffering from major depression. Pistorius was convicted at the end of last year of the 2013 murder of his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp. We bring you highlights of Pistorius entering the court for his hearing.
Paralympic gold medalist Oscar Pistorius is to be sentenced for the 2013 murder of his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp. A psychologist told the hearing Pistorius' condition is severe and that he is not able to testify.
He displayed signs and reported symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disorder and depressive disorder. I say currently, in my opinion, he is not able to testify, Milady. His condition is severe. He was severely traumatized by the events that took place on the 14th of February 2013, and I made a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder and major depressive disorder at that time. He is currently still receiving pharmacotherapy and psychotherapy for these conditions. Mr. Pistorius was a gun collector, but has now distanced himself from this hobby. He is adamant that he never wants to touch or handle a firearm again and has sold all his firearms. Since the events of 2013, he became traumatized when he hears the sound of gunfire. Even if it's...
Well, we'll continue to follow that story as he faces a jail term of 15 years, but it may be reduced due to time already spent in prison and mitigating factors. The hearing is expected to last all week with a sentence by Friday. Well, from that, we now go to the Euro 2016 that is ongoing in France. Russia will be thrown out of Euro 2016 if their fans cause further trouble, says European governing body UEFA. The Russians have also been fined €150
following violent scenes at the game against England in Marseille on Saturday. The suspended disqualification and fine relates only to incidents that happened inside the stadium, where we bring you highlights of the violence.
It was shortly after Russia got the equaliser. You just saw this kind of hole emerging in the stand where it and then
Well, we still continue with sports updates on news, and now we move to athletics. Olympic champion Usain Bolt recorded the second fastest time of the year in winning a 100-meter race in Jamaica, despite stumbling out of his starting blocks. Bolt ran 9.88 seconds at Racers Grand Prix in Kingston. Only Frenchman Jimmy Faux, 9.86, has gone quicker than Bolt himself. After a poor start, Bolt caught fellow Jamaicans Ewan Blake, the London 2012 silver medalist, and Asafa Powell by 60 meters before easing over the line. We bring you highlights.
Go down with Jimmy Vico of France.
Set. Away they go. Bolt didn't get a bad start. He slips though. Asafa Paul got up well. Johan Blake is there. Usain Bolt tries to pull through. Usain Bolt ahead of Asafa Powell and Johan Blake. 990. Oh, Bolt made that look pretty easy, didn't he? Blake was well.
Well, that's all part of his preparations to the Rio Games in Brazil. Well, from there we bring you fixtures for the Euro 2016. As today, Austria will play against Hungary at 1700 hours, and Portugal will play against Iceland at 8 p.m. in the evening. And for result in the Copa America, Mexico and Venezuela played a 1-1 draw, and Uruguay defeated Jamaica by 3-0. Well, that's all we can provide for you in this edition of Sports Updates on News. I am Frances Banner. Thanks for watching.
And with sports, News Hour comes to a close. But before we go, quick look at the top stories. The remains of Mohammed Karim, commonly known as Daddy George, have been laid to rest in his hometown, Shegrema, in the Karlaun district. Regional Chairman, Peace Building Commission, has paid a courtesy call on President Anis Baikoma at State House. And Chancellor of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to Sierra Leone has received another batch of Chinese medical doctors to Sierra Leone. Well, that's all in this edition of News Hour broadcast live on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. On behalf of my news editor, Abubakar Bangura, and the rest of the team, I'm Alice Mariama Thompson, wishing the rest of your day is glorious. Thanks for your time. Keep watching the SLBC.